So, on March 28th, 2018, which was yesterday, if you're in the United States like I am, a new Team Fortress 2 update was released, based solely on fixing competitive and casual. Along with fixing casual and competitive, it also fixed, buffed, and nerfed some of the weapons, which we're going to go over later. The sole purpose of this video is to go over the major parts of this update and break them down. Now, with that out of the way, we're going to get into the real meat and bone of the update, the casual and competitive fixes. Now, when I say fix, I actually mean revamp, as in they've completely redone the entire competitive system to make it replicate CSGO's competitive system. 13 new ranks were also added to replace the old ones. The level system itself has also been revamped. Before this update, it was considerably harder to reach the next rank. This new system uses placement matches to give you the appropriate rank for your skill level. But in order to reach one of these levels, you have to at least win 10 competitive matches in order to get at least rank 1. Another new change for competitive is how you can get into competitive. Before, it used to be you had to pay $10 to get the Game Pass in order to actually play it. Now, you require a phone that has Steam Authenticator on it, a premium TF2 account, and you need to be over rank 3 in casual matchmaking. Speaking of the competitive Game Pass, it now only costs $5 instead of $10. Only one major change has been made to casual. It uses the similar system to CSGO, meaning that you're going to be queued up with other people who are your skill level, instead of being paired up with people who are level 1 or people who are 12 times higher than you are. Now, this one is not a change, but it's more of adding old maps back into casual matchmaking. They've added CTF Sawmill, CTF Well, CP5 Gorge, 2 Fort Invasion, and CTF Foundry. Now, most of these are caps of the flag maps, and we all know how controversial those are, but they are maps that the community was wanting for a long time. Although they didn't make very many changes to casual, they did add new features. You can now queue for a match while you're in boot camp, or if you're in a casual match. Along with being able to queue while you're in a current match, you can also queue for multiple match types at the same time. Meaning that if you're in an empty lobby, but you want to keep playing, and find a different one, you can easily do that. Now, if you're in a party, and you accept one of these while you're mid-game, your party members will be dragged out of their current match and into the one that you're in. Speaking of party members, your party members can now freely access the casual matchmaking menu instead of just being locked out of it like they usually would. Now that about wraps up the casual and competitive fixes. Now we're going to move on to the weapon changes that were made. Not very many weapons have been changed, but there are some that are worthwhile here. The first and biggest one I'm going to go over is the flamethrowers. Now, from what I've seen, a YouTuber by the name of Minty Coffee, I'm pretty sure you know who he is, has already covered this topic on the flamethrowers, but I'll just go over it briefly with some footage. Basically, what this change was made to do was to prevent the sweep technique that most pyro mains were using during the Jungle Inferno update. So if I do this, that takes a bit, right? I mean, it seems normal. Seems normal for a flamethrower. But now we have our medic friend here. And basically, what this is, the longer you keep the flame on a single target, the more damage it'll do until it reaches max damage. So if I do this, that killed a little bit quicker. So this was basically meant to stop those pyros who are using the sweep mechanic. This is a good change balance-wise, because now it takes a little bit more skill to use a flamethrower, meaning you have to actually aim at your target and keep your aim on that target in order to do max damage to kill them quickly. Although you can still make it work, it is less reliable to rush an entire crowd of enemies and just flick your mouse like your wrist is having a seizure. There's really not much to change on the Dragon's Fury, but the only thing they did change was the size of the fireball, so it's not as big. They've also changed how the bonus damage actually works. So for this, you have to make the center of the fireball from the Dragon's Fury, basically the Dragon Fury's projectile, you have to make that hit their hitbox. It can't be anything else, it has to be the center of the particle. The only changes that the Gas Passer got were MVM related. You saw that one video that Soundsmith made, right? Where he was just destroying waves of robots with nothing but the Gas Passer and the explosive gas upgrade. To fix this, they increased the base damage of the Gas Passer to try and help balance it out. Next off, we have the new and improved Extinguisher. Now, before this update, during the Tough Break update, it had a 100% chance to crit against burning targets. It had a normal 33% damage penalty against players who were not burning. It had a slower attack speed for 20%, and it had a 75% slower switch to speed. Now that was really bad, but they've changed that, they've made it better. The new design is that it mini crits and then extinguishes the targets who are on fire. So it no longer does full crits, but it does mini crits. Now, there's also a damage bonus, which is based on the remaining duration of the afterburn. So if you light a person on fire and hit them with the flare, and then hit them, you're going to get a lot of damage because the afterburn has just started. This is really useful for combo pyros. A new feature called SketchX Bequest, which is a reference to one of SketchX's videos called Bequest, where he was market gardening with an extinguisher and a degreaser. What this change does is when you kill a burning player with the extinguisher, you get a speed boost, like if you were to slap someone with the hot hand. They have now changed the switch to speed to a holster speed, so it is now 35% slower to holster the extinguisher than to pull it out. A change to the thermal thruster's holster time has been changed. It is now 0.8 seconds to holster the thermal thruster instead of 1.1 seconds. Next, we have the Sydney Sleeper. Now, there have been some changes to the Sydney Sleeper's Girardi effect. They have completely removed the Girardi splash feature. This was when, if you got a fully charged body shot / headshot, and you shot a target, a Girardi splash would splash any nearby enemies. Instead, if you headshot a target, you are going to do mini crits. Also, the length of which Girardi is applied on a target has been changed to 2 to 5 seconds instead of 2 to 8 seconds. There was a big change that happened to the short circuit. The alt fire, which was just a simple zap to destroy projectiles, has been replaced with a projectile, meaning you have to actually aim at a projectile and right-click at it in order to destroy it. Now this projectile does have a hitbox, so you don't have to hit it dead on. You have to at least get it close to the projectile you want to delete. This projectile also passes through multiple targets. Considering that this is a projectile, it can be reflected back. The only good use in reflecting it is to prevent the enemy engineer from destroying stuff like stickies or pipes. It's not very useful for damage, considering it only does 15 damage. Now, to fire this projectile, it does cost 65 metal, so use it wisely. Now we are going to move on to the Pretty Boy's pocket pistol changes. Now, there have not been many changes, there's only been one, but it's still worth it. The Pretty Boy's pocket pistol's maximum per hit heal amount has been changed from 7 to 3. The second to last weapon we're going to go over is the Panic Attack. As we all know, the Jungle Inferno update completely wrecked the Panic Attack, making it really, really bad. It replaced the Panic Attack's Beggar's Bazooka-like loading mechanism. In the Blue Moon update, the Panic Attack has been fixed. The feature in which every successive shot with the Panic Attack makes the weapon's spread grow bigger has been entirely removed. While its Beggar's Bazooka-like loading mechanism has still not been re-added, they have fixed it, so it's way better than it was. They have reduced the weapon's spread by 40% and have reduced the damage penalty to 20% instead of what it was during Jungle Inferno, which was 30%. This makes the new Panic Attack a very viable weapon to use as a secondary to something like the shotgun or the flare gun. And last but not least, the Atomizer. Now this is a very simple change, but we're going to go over it anyway. In order to get the triple jump, you now have to have the atomizer fully deployed. Now that wraps up all the weapon changes. Now we're going to move on to the last part, the cosmetics in the update. Now, as we've all come to know from Valve, every Team Fortress 2 update has to include new cosmetics, but I have to say, they have added some really good cosmetics this time. Now, I'm going to go over these in my own personal opinion, meaning that if you don't like how I rate a certain cosmetic, that's your decision, not mine. First up is the Robin Walkers. They are the elite grade item of the Blue Moon case. They are all class and generally look very nice. Next up is the Frag-Proof Fragger. This is one of 3 assassin grade items for the Blue Moon case. Now this is a Demo Man only hat, but I really like it. It really fits the Demo Man's explosive man aspect. Next up is the Private Maggot Muncher. Now, I wonder who at Valve thought it was a good idea to give the soldier a second eagle cosmetic, but I'm not complaining. Now, the last assassin grade item is the Cold Case. This is a cosmetic for the engineer. Well, it's more of a backpack, but we're still gonna count it as a cosmetic. But to be fair, I don't really like this cosmetic all that much. Sure, it fits with the engineer's lazy type of thing, and how, you know, he'd be in his little Rancho Relaxo chair and he'd have a beer backpack, but I personally don't like it. Oh god, yes. Oh god, even more yes. Oh god, it's beautiful. These cosmetics are amazing. Well, sorry for that. I just really like these cosmetics, you know. Now, there are some honorable mentions like the Burning Question, the Antarctic Eyewear, the Tundra Top, the Assassin's Attire, but the rest of those, I'm not really digging. Now, in conclusion, the Blue Moon update, in my opinion, is a really good update, especially since it was just out of nowhere. This update took everyone by surprise. We thought we were going to get an update around June or July, but not now. If Valve can keep up making updates like this, I think it's gonna be a good year. Well, I hope you found this entertaining, and I hope you learned a few things about the new update. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.